Good morning everyone, and a quick video here. This is the Model Collect AGM-158 JASSM Joint Attack Standoff Munition Missile thing from America. So this is in the news at the moment, and Model Collect, you get enough to build 20 of these JASSMs. The JASSM is a stealthy small cruise missile. Here it is in flight condition. Model Collect allows you to build them in flight condition or in stowed condition here. Now I think the only difference is the LRASSM, which is a long range anti-ship missile, has a black nose for a different sensor, and I think that's the only difference. They're pretty plain missiles, they're just overall grey. Fit and finish is okay. It's not the best fit. There's no pin holes and male female want of a better word, plug things to secure them, so you have to line them up and then use clothes pegs and do a bit of filling on them. So that's kind of the only downside. This is with the wings stowed, and then you just put the tail on like that. For the other option, it's just a case of putting the wings in the folded, unfolded position and unfolding the tail. So a very simple missile, a lot more simple than the KEP 350D, the Taurus KEP, and a lot more simple than the Scalp EG or Storm Shadow. Obviously, they've been in the news as well. So these are all part of President Zelensky's victory plan request to the Americans. Got to be honest, and I don't want to be controversial or political. As a military historian, I am not convinced that this will make a great deal of change. I get the idea. So if we look at the current situation, the Ukrainians have created a salient towards Kursk, and the only thing of strategic value there is the Kursk nuclear power plant, which is so far under Russian hands. The rest of this is just an isolated rural area of forests, very low population density, and nothing really of strategic importance except for that power plant. If they had taken the power plant, that would have been very different. If they had done it as a raid, I think it would have worked. Now, my view as a military historian is that they are stuck there. The idea of this is it's to embarrass Putin. Well, it can embarrass Putin. The downside is it makes Russia really angry. And if it makes Russia really angry and then Russia decides to escalate to war, well, the results could be counterproductive. So there's always a risk in this. Now, the strategy of raiding to me is a good one. You raid, you pull back, you raid somewhere else, you pull back, you raid somewhere else, you pull back. Now, that to me makes sense because that's exposing the enemy's weakness, and that's forcing the enemy to move their forces around a lot. But if you are just going into an area and settling there, well, it's really easy. If you think of a bank robber in the Sweeney, so the Sweeney always ended up with the bank robber going into a factory unit, and then there was a car chase, and because they had gone into a factory unit, they'd try and climb a wall, and then Carter and Reagan would pull them off the wall. So it's the same thing as if you are driving into a cul-de-sac and you get stuck in the cul-de-sac. You can't get out the cul-de-sac. So that's the downside of not doing in and out raids. Now, Russia, on the other hand, has all of this Ukrainian territory, and it's now breaking through towards Pokrovsk, which is a key supply hub. So the danger for the Ukrainians here is that whilst they want to use the JASSM to hit the air bases in Russia, Russia is a big place. So as you can see, I've drawn this line here because Russia is so big, I can't fit the rest of it onto the page. Now, will it create some problems for Russia? Well, sure, it will. But what Russia will do to counter these problems is it will move its aircraft further back, use its in-flight refueling, and then just in-flight refuel and hit its targets. Or it will just use barrages of long-range missiles. So the downside of the JASSM is that whilst it certainly can hit targets within this area, it won't be able to hit deep into Russia. Russia can do what it did in World War II and move its air bases back. Sure, it will present operational difficulties. Will it have the effect? Personally, as a military historian, I am doubtful. Sometimes in the West we have this idea that a single weapon system is going to be a game changer, and I think this is because the media don't understand war, and we don't really understand war as well as we should, and what we're doing is we're focusing on gear, but we're not focusing on strategy. What is the actual plan? What do we want to achieve? Do we want to get Russia to withdraw? Okay, well, hitting bases will make the Russian positions harder. But at the minute, with the air defence rich Russian forces, what's happening here is because Kursk isn't a raid anymore, forces have been diverted up here, and then Russia is pushing out here. The danger is that in doing this and going after all the gear and going after something which is designed to have a strategic impact, which may or may not do so, the risk is that you collapse your entire front. Now, I don't have all the answers for this, and I don't want this to become controversial or political. These are just my thoughts as a military historian. I'm going to disable comments because, quite frankly, whenever you suggest that something that Ukraine or NATO does might not work, you get a torrent of abuse. JASSMs, yep, great weapon, but a weapon has to fit a strategic, clearly defined objective. And that's, I think, the area that as students of war we should be focusing on. What are we trying to achieve and how are we going to achieve it? This may end the war in Ukraine's favour, or it may escalate things, and that's a real risk. So supplying these weapons, the Malagasy forces obviously use them, supplying this weapon has to be balanced. Now, my use of these weapons is different. I use them as part of my overall what if force doctrine, and for me it's a great weapon system. Take care, bye.